Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful, Catherine. You don't have one small voice, you have one magnificent voice. And I hope you can hear my voice now that my microphone's finally turned on. It's amazing. I was getting all this attention to my backside. It was just because of the microphone today. Okay, I think we can put the first. The title of my talk today is Wisdom of the Dog. And this was before I knew that it was National Dog Day, so that was quite apropos. And I was inspired to do this talk by my dog Sapphire, who's no longer with us physically, but here in spirit. And so I just wanted to think for a moment. Wisdom of the dog, I thought of calling it, What Would the Dog Do? But it just sounded a little awkward there. How many of you are dog lovers or have a dog? Oh, good company. Now, those who didn't raise their hand, it's okay, because what I want you to realize is that whether you are or aren't observing them, you can gain wisdom from them or the lack thereof, as we all know. So cat lovers in the house? I am as well. I'm not dissing your furry friends at all. I truly love them. But you have to admit, you don't see too many police cats, seeing eye cats, or rescue cats. I can kind of see the bubble above Garfield's head now, going, you want me to do what? So back to our canine companions here. I'll save the feline talk for another time. The first piece of wisdom of the dog is, gotta coordinate our slides here, is to question your fear-based thoughts. A few years ago, I heard my dog Sapphire barking intensely from the backyard. And he would run towards something and then retreat in fear. And this happened over and over until it got me concerned, and I thought, ooh, I better investigate. There's probably a burglar in the backyard. And being semi-stupid and fearless, I went out there and I looked back and I looked at what he was frightened of, and I realized it was a white plastic bag blowing in the wind. But it made me ponder, what are all the plastic bags in my life? How often does my mind leap from one fearful thought to the next without really investigating the validity of it? Especially late at night when I'm trying to go to sleep. And yet I let thoughts take me on a journey I don't even want to go on. Can anyone else relate to that late night conversation? You might be having an argument with somebody that happened earlier in the day, and you're trying to win that argument there, even though they're not in the room. Or maybe you're even pondering when the next earthquake will be. It's amazing how quickly an unchecked thought can lead to another and another, which can turn into a belief. And that's all a belief really is. It's just a thought you keep having over and over. It has no special divine status just because you call it a belief. Think about it for a moment. We used to believe the earth was flat. We used to believe that we would never be able to fly. And we used to believe that you could die from public speaking. And I'm still kind of not sure on that one. In fact, I have to digress for a second and tell you about a dream I had a few nights ago. Knowing that I was doing this talk, Reverend Duchess came and said, Lisa, it's time for you to go on. Well, it wasn't the day, it wasn't the time, and she was ushering me to a door, and I walk in this room, and it's like a big Greek theater, and there's all these people looking down at me, and I realize I have no notes, I have no book, and I have no clothes. I'm just glad that many dreams do not manifest themselves. Byron Katie, how many of you have ever heard of her? Oh, good. I'm glad I don't have to start from scratch here. Well, she's a wonderful teacher and educator, and she basically has a technique that's called the work. And what it does is it allows us to question our thoughts and ask, is it really true? And I think that's why it's called the work, because it's so difficult sometimes to confront our thoughts. And she takes the premise that we must not always believe what we think. For the purpose of this talk, I'll simplify it by just saying that if you could pick a thought for a moment, or a belief that you have, that you kind of contemplate to be true, and then by turning it around a bit and saying, Can I absolutely verify that it's true? And once you realize that you can't on some level, then you ask, who would I be without that thought? So just for a moment, contemplate one little belief that you're holding on to right now that might be uncomfortable and say, who would I be without that? Give it up. Maybe it's the need to be right. Maybe it's some belief you have about an old relative that's long passed. It becomes very freeing, especially those beliefs or fears that are based in some fearful base that you have. So many of our fears stem from this primitive belief system. It's the one we often witness in our little furry friends. So beginning to confront the thoughts, especially before we bring them into our dreams, is a huge step of growth. In fact, before I go to sleep at night, I try and censor what I listen to, what I see, what I read. And so it was really frustrating a few nights ago when I was going to sleep, and as much as I love Carole King, but I had the lyrics stuck in my head of, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, baby, you're no good. I had to quickly do a rewind just to close my eyes. The second piece of wisdom of the dog is, chasing your tail just makes you dizzy. How many times have you watched your tail, or your tail, not your tail, because we don't have one, but your dog's chasing his tail, running in circles? Anybody? You've watched that, and no matter how much you tried to convince them that it was impossible to catch this elusive tail unless it had a really long one, you knew it was just a waste of energy. So this piece of wisdom becomes very real for me when I realize that I'm struggling or trying to force something to happen, especially when I'm trying to get something that I believe is outside of me and reaching outward instead of looking inward. People often start a fad diet, they look for a different relationship, they start following a new teaching, unless, of course, it's this one, then you're okay. People even try and resurrect some old habits just to fill that void from within. It can bring a temporary relief, but it's like having something brand new and shiny. After a few hours or even days or minutes, it starts to fade. And something happens when you realize that you're still hungry. It's like going to a buffet and wanting more and more after you leave. It's not outside of you. I remember being surprised when I read the biography of William Randolph Hearst. I don't know if any of you is very familiar with him, but he was the owner of Hearst Castle. And here he was, this billionaire. He could have anything he wanted. In fact, he flew people in from around the world. He bought incredible gifts from every country he had been to. He had more money than he knew what to do with. But reading his biography further, I found how sad and lonely he was for most of his life. He felt very depressed. And we all know that money does not buy happiness. So I want to share with you now a little reading from one of my favorite books called The Power of Decision. And it's appropriately written by, especially for the talk today, Raymond Charles Barker. And Drenya, I don't have contacts, so I'm going to take your cue so I don't have to make up the words in the book as I read. And, okay. He says that, I'm not used to wearing these with bright lights on me. You can live a much fuller life right where you are in your present circumstances. In fact, this is from the chapter, Decide to Live Richly. It does not require more money, a better job, a nicer home, or a different marriage partner. It requires a change of consciousness, and this you can do, for you are a thinker. You are the controller of your consciousness. The moment you decide to live a richer life, your consciousness will devise ways and means of your having it. Consciousness contains total intelligence because consciousness is the action of the infinite mind thinking. Your consciousness is the individualization of the total consciousness of being. So when you think about that, we can tap into this incredible source. We are the individualization of a much greater consciousness. And we can get that just from within, not from without. And the next slide, please. Because you then realize, what if the tail is actually chasing me? When we sit calmly, we can affirm that our good is always coming to us. We're always where we need to be with the law of attraction drawing us to things. The third piece of wisdom of the dog is greet all people with unconditional love and enthusiasm. Greet them like you haven't seen them in ages, and forgive all the time. Sometimes I would go and check my mail with my dog Sapphire. Actually, I'd leave him at the door, and he would look devastated. He would follow me to the door and look like I was abandoning him. You know, Cocker Spaniels have those big, sad eyes. I would come back 30 seconds maybe later, and he would jump up on me and lick me and act like he hadn't seen me in an eternity. Now, I know he was a little on the neurotic side, so I'm not suggesting that you jump on or lick or guilt trip your friends and family if they leave briefly. But you can, however, look at your friends in a fresh new way. Don't cling to the past. My dog was happy when I came home from school. He didn't hold a grudge that I was gone. He didn't accuse me of being out with another dog. He loved me from a purity that humans sometimes rarely access. This unconditional love of accepting most people, and one that forgives and loves so freely, is such a valuable asset. While the words are simple, it's often difficult to practice, and that's why I love the story from the Bible about the prodigal son. I think perhaps I felt like the prodigal daughter the last few years with all my travels. And I sure appreciated the people who came to me with open arms, because letting somebody go to do what they need to do in life is an amazing gift. The fourth piece of wisdom that ties into this is look for the unexpected gifts that life has to offer. Now, it might not come in the form of a pretty rose. In fact, it might take a very long time to even discover what the gift is. Every time my dog would come in from the backyard, he would have the need to, I'm saying literally every time, it got a little old, because he would have the need to bring me a gift. And he would pick up like a dried up leaf, an acorn, an old bone, something dead, or his water bowl. And when he picked up his water bowl, he was so excited because it was usually full, and he would pick it up and wag his whole being, running around my house with the water bowl now dripping a wet trail of carpet. But I began to appreciate his enthusiasm, his sincerity, and his need to bring me a gift. Just out of curiosity, anybody else's dog do that? No? Yours did. Oh, what gifts do you get from your dog?
The leash. He would offer me the leash when he wanted to go for a walk.
Oh, yeah, a little hint there, yeah. It's like, come on, Mom. Time to do the leash thing. I know it can be difficult to see gifts in situations or people. Sometimes what is often disguised in a lesson may not reveal itself for quite a while. It can be hidden in a diagnosis that perhaps causes you to slow down and live more consciously or even deliberately. It can be in the loss or change of a job that now frees you up to truly follow that passion of yours. I read the front of a card that I think came from a Zen saying recently, and it said, "Barns burned down, now I can see the moon." I hope everybody saw the beautiful moon last night, by the way, and no barn had to be burnt down to see it. It was gorgeous. So if you may remain truly open to the gifts, you are less likely to feel like a victim. You will be asking, where is the unexpected gift in this situation? And if you also love people on a deep, truly unconditional, that means not looking for the conditions to be perfect before you can love them, then sometimes you get to see that perhaps they are giving the only thing that they know how or are able to give. Maybe they were never taught how to give the way you were. Years ago, my husband and I lived next to a family of 7. And the parents were gone quite often. I kind of figured out why after a while. But the teenager was left in charge of the flock. And the youngest, the little 5-year-old, used to be sent over to borrow things on a regular basis. And so I think she really wanted more attention that we often gave her as adults. So we donated egg, flour, sugar, butter to this worthy cause. But one evening when I was really exhausted, I just got home and I heard the familiar little knock. And I opened it, and she was asking for something that didn't seem all that necessary, like a chocolate chip cookie or an ice cream cone. Well, I tried to give it to her, but then I almost felt obligated to teach her a lesson or to say, sometimes it's better to give than receive. Sometimes in life, we must not just take all the time, and we have to give. Well, the little 5-year-old listened, nodded her head intently, and then she went back home. Well, about 15 minutes later, I heard a knock on the door, and there she was holding up her gift. And she said, proudly displaying, "Here, Lisa." And I looked down at her toilet bowl plunger. Her innocent little voice took me back, and I realized, and I thanked her, but I said, "I'm sure your parents could use this far more than I need it." And I just smiled inwardly, and I said, "End of that lesson." So if you can see the gift in a toilet plunger, dried up leaves, buried dog bones, then perhaps you can begin to see and embrace the deeper challenges of people or situations in your life that don't initially show up as something positive. And think about it. The universe, this great thing that keeps the planets in orbit, creates masterpieces in nature, it truly has a better plan for unfolding our dreams than we could have ever imagined. Sometimes we have to wait a little longer because we might just initially label it as a problem instead of trying to see that gift. And it might start as simple as just trying to see the moon. This will also help with the 5th piece of wisdom. Don't bite when a simple growl will do. I know that most of you have probably never overreacted to a person or situation, but just in case, you might want to listen to this. I tried to tell people not to get in the way of my dog and his food because his patience had declined over the years, and his skill was just not the same. So he was very clear that something was going in his mouth, whether it was his food or your hand if you got in the way. So sometimes lashing out can feel like the only option available, or it just feels good at the time. We can get into that fight or flight mode. And I have to ask myself, does this truly represent who I am being? Or is there a better way to express my frustration? Questioning, once again, our reaction, because we might be able to solve it on an inward level before we have to meanly direct it out at another. I love this saying that says, between stimulus and response, you have a choice. Like a dog's bite, a hateful comment or yelling at someone can be very painful. I think that panting to the count of 5 about, deep breathing, rolling over, or even playing dead are better options that might give you a few extra moments to preserve your dignity and the relationship. The 6th piece of wisdom, it's kind of 6th and 7th. When you find what you love, leap and roll in it if you can. Hopefully this will allow you to wag your whole being with joy. Too often we justify passing up our dreams because they just don't seem logical. How many dreams are logical? That's kind of like the prerequisite, I thought, for some of my dreams. Can't make sense at first, can't be logical, but you know they're meant to be expressed by means of you. So listen to that inner guidance that urges you to become something greater, something of your God self that's dying to be expressed. And it might be something than you ever thought possible coming by means of you. Maybe it's a talent that you are walking away from expressing. Maybe you have one small voice that you're waiting to sing that song that you wrote or that book that you wrote. Now is the moment to express, and you're the one you've been waiting for. So, the last slide. Don't just hide under your plastic bag once you've made friends with it. Many people never find their passion, or when they do, they're afraid to follow it. They live a life wondering what might have happened. I love this following quote from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission to others to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So, what if Rosa Parks had just not gone and sat down? What if she had gone to the back of the bus in her methodical way? What if Thomas Edison figured, okay, a few hundred failures, that's good enough, I'm stopping, and never went on to do what he did to invent the light bulb? What if Malala believed the Taliban when they said that girls should not be educated? Kind of hits home as a teacher, and her bravery to pursue and move beyond what she believed possible in those conditions. What if you walk out of here today and instead of clinging to some past belief of unworthiness, you go after, leap at, and even roll in what you've been waiting for? You'll never really know if you don't try. And now, gotta lighten up a little bit, and Ted, could you please raise the lights in the back for everyone? Because how many of you were paper boys or girls? Oh, great, we have quite a few. Did you ever get chased by a dog? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I found that it wasn't just your legs that the dog was after. I found that the dog really wanted the wisdom in those papers because I happened to access a few of these papers. And they are from the Doggy Daily. And so I need about 5 to 7 volunteers who wouldn't mind standing up as I try and toss the paper. And if you get it, just open it, and then you could read it and share it to those around you. You're not even standing, but you clap, so you get one. Oh, thank you. Okay. Gravity, it tends to pull things down. Oh, to the left. Oh, there you go. We have quite the variety. And then when you feel like you can read it, I'll call on you to go around, just remain standing. Oh, I was never a paper girl, I'm telling you that right now. Oh, that's it. Okay, anybody else? One last paper? Oh, thank you, Dranya. You can even sing it. Okay, let's quickly see. Let's see, do you want to start?
Sure. Live the actual moment. Only this moment is life. Labs 2, 3-7.
You want to show him the picture?
Dog rolling on his back, trying to get his tail and the ball at the same time.
Okay,
I have two. Watch, therefore, for ye not know what hour your master shall come. That's from the Watchdog's Manual. And then, who out there has lust for life, can't wait for each day, play and chase. And that's Labs 390.
okay. And next, John?
Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy.
I love that one.
That's by Honeybee Buzz Around. Cheer Up Champion 1998.
Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
If ye have faith, nothing shall be impossible for you. The Retriever's Creed. So, go for it. Doesn't matter where you land.
Okay, and next.
The quote from the Mahatma Gandhi.
Wait, say that again?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma? I think it was supposed to sound like a dog, but yeah, go ahead. Mahatma Gandhi? Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, they're dog things. So I think it's supposed to sound like Mahatma Gandhi, maybe. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Whether one believes in religion or not, there isn't anyone who doesn't appreciate kindness and compassion.
Yes.
And now, in the back.
Not only the thirsty seeks water, the water also seeks the thirsty.
Yes, would you like to share?
Outside ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Rin Tin.
Yes, thank you. And finally, in the back.
Two here. The Lord helps those who help themselves from first labs. And let's see, the dog is at the barbecue.
I'm sure he's helping himself.
And finally, those who help others are helped. That's the service dog's creed.
Oh, and Drenya.
Well, the one I have here shows a terrier on a diving board with a life vest on. He's dripping wet, mind you. But it says, there is no greater illusion than fear. Shih Tzu.
Thank you so much, all my paper boys and girls. And now I'd like to invite you to come together in a closing contemplation. Close your... Oh, I thought I'd pray first. I know I'm not doing things right, but I'll... Okay. Okay, so go ahead and get comfortable and close your eyes if you choose. And join with me in knowing that there truly is one power, one presence, one great intelligence. We can call this God. It's really dog spelled backwards. We can call it life itself, energy. And we know that we are an expression of this oneness. We are totally connected. There is no point where God is not. And I know that as we come together in joy in the next few weeks and the next months, that we truly do look for the unexpected gifts in life. We be kind and gentle to people. We don't overreact to our fears. And we follow our passion. We leap for it. And we totally wag our being with joy as we praise the abundance that we have. And I'm just so grateful for knowing this, knowing that as I speak these words, they are acted upon in the divine right timing to unfold. And now as I release this to infinite mind, together we say, and so it is.